Program Manager at Dignity Foundation's NCR chapter. I welcome all of you today to today's session. We are happy to have Mr. Vijay Pava, our trustee, and other chief dignitarians among us today. I would also like to welcome all our speakers and guests from Cyber Trust and Safety Working Group of Broadband India Forum. Today we are here to talk about something really important, and that is cyber safety of senior citizens. The internet, as we all know, is one of the best resources available to us. It is serving to be a boon during the pandemic when most of the activities have moved online. While there are several advantages, there has also been a growth in cybercrime. So it becomes extremely dangerous if one is not aware of who and what lurks behind the scenes. Therefore, we all must be aware of the safety precautions. We are very honored to have amongst us senior officials from the Cyber Trust and Safety Working Group of the Broadband India Forum. They will be discussing about cyber threats, to be safe online, how to report a cyber crime, and more. And in case any of you have any question, you can put them in the chat box, and the questions will be addressed after the presentation. I would now like to invite Mr. Vijay Pava for the opening remarks. Mr. Pava is a veteran marketing professional, having worked for several companies in senior positions. And in 2017, July, after retirement, he joined Dignity Foundation as an advisory council member. 2 years later, he was offered the position of trustee. He also represents National Skills Development Corporation as a director in Rubber Skills Development Council. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madiha. My pleasure to be here today. Let me begin by saying how grateful all of us at Dignity are to Broadband India Foundation and their specific committee, or whatever we call it, on cybersecurity. Broadband India Foundation, a small write-up about them was circulated along with this invitation. For those of you who have not had the time to go through it, it is doing some exceedingly good work in ensuring that more and more citizens of the country not only get the broadband, but get a quality broadband. And a subsection of this is the cybersecurity part. I will confess, I consider myself to be quite tech savvy. I consider myself to be quite careful, conservative, etc., etc. I got, what shall I say, scammed and sending 40,000 rupees to a contact, supposed contact of my ex-boss, managing director of Dunlop, Samir Ghosh, claiming that he is in the US and saying that his servant, COVID times, blah, blah, blah. I sent 40,000 after a lot of thought. And it was a scam. I'm not saying that I'm not a Buddhu, I am a Buddhu. I can also get conned into this. And this is becoming a very big challenge. So let's, I only want to add one thing for the benefit of all the participants, that the presentation of today's seminar will be shared later with whoever wants to have, would like to have it, let us know. And second thing is, if at all we run out of time in the question answers, we will still request our friends to attend to those questions later. With these two messages, may I request, invite the Director General of Broadband India Forum, Mr. Rajat Mukherjee, and his colleagues, and thank them in advance for agreeing to conduct this particular session, which I'm sure all of us will find it to be of great use. Over to you, Rajat, or to Madiha.
I would like to welcome Mr. Rajat Mukherjee, Director General, Broadband India Forum. He's an industry veteran with more than 25 years of experience in the ICT sector. He has served in key positions with Birla, AT&T, and ZTE India, and most prominently as Chief Corporate Affairs Officer of Idea Cellular for 16 years. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Madiha, and thank you very much, Vijay sir, for your very, very kind words of introduction. I think it is just natural for me to give a very short and very crisp indication for the benefit of those who may not have read the flyer that you sent out earlier about Broadband India Forum and about the Cyber Trust and Security Group. Broadband India Forum functions as an independent policy forum and think tank, and that works for the development and enhancement of the entire broadband ecosystem in a holistic, technology neutral, and service neutral manner. Our endeavor is to promote, support, and enhance all policy, regulatory, and standards initiatives for the proliferation of high quality broadband in the country, and to empower consumers with efficient and economical broadband so that we are able to realize the true digital India. BIF works very closely with the government and the regulator to try and achieve this mission. We were formed in October 2015 as a dedicated forum with the participation from stakeholders including technology providers, telecom providers, internet service providers, value-added service providers, satellite operators, service providers, and MSOs, startups, and professionals. It is run by a group of seasoned industry professionals who are familiar with different technologies, operations, regulations, and policies and standards. In this short period of time, BIF has established itself as a thought leader and has contributed, we believe, significantly to the regulatory and policy consultations and build up a good level of credibility, reputation, and standing with key institutions in India. We operate this entire process through a series of different committees, and one of the committees has a working group which is referred to as the Cyber Trust and Security Group. The objective of this group and the concept behind it was to incubate as a pilot and then have more like-minded people coming in with websites and online threads, all increasing, as Vijay very correctly said. The mission of this group is to increase different stakeholder involvement through A, capacity building initiatives, B, training programs, C, creating a repository to share information with people, much like we are doing here today, D, interacting with law enforcement and decision makers, and of course, as part of our own activities within the Broadband India Forum, creating white papers and reports which then can be submitted to the policymakers. It gives me great pleasure to introduce three of these stalwarts of the cybersecurity field who have come together to take this message on. I will start with the lady first, Amrita Chaudhary. She is the director of the CCAOI and treasurer of the Internet Society of India, Delhi chapter, and the APAC lead of SIG for Women. She is also part of the organizing team of the Indian School of Internet Governance, INSIG, and her work focuses on the wide range of issues, which includes empowerment of the public internet access providers through cyber cafes and CSCs, and assisted internet users and non-users, and promoting the internet awareness through digital literacy and with a vernacular internet. Safe surfing, grassroots level education, these are the areas that she is focused on. Mr. Alok Gupta, founder and CEO of Pyramid Cyber Security and Forensics, helps customers in the government, law enforcement, and enterprises to identify, prevent, detect, resolve, and protect from threats, crimes, breaches, and frauds arising due to misuse of digital and communication devices, applications, and technologies. And our third expert is Ashutosh Subhamoykar, who is the managing director of Cognite Analytics. I apologize. Earlier, it was called Verint Cyber and Communications Intelligence. And he has over 14 years of experience in the field of communication intelligence and big data analytics. He has been one of the key proponents of compliance for national security at telecom network domain and has been responsible for leading some key initiatives in the domain of communication intelligence in the last decade, and now heads Cognite Analytics cyber intelligence initiatives in India. Having introduced these three experts, I'll hand it back to Mediha to take the proceedings forward. More over to you, Mediha.
Thank you, sir. I now welcome Ms. Amrita Chaudhary, Director, CCAOI. She would be giving us an overview of cybersecurity challenges faced by senior citizens and ways to address them. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madiha. Firstly, by the time Kaustav has the, shares the presentation, I would like to thank the Dignity Foundation, especially Vijay, who co-organized us to be here today, Archana and everyone today for taking out time. We can see more than 100 people today, and it is a deep honor for us to be here today. To begin with, I would not want to spend too much of time. Just in case I go too fast, please prompt me. I will go slowly. There has been a request in the chat that we speak in English. I will try, but there are people from Bangalore and Chennai and Calcutta, so they may prefer it in English, but I will still try to give the examples in Hindi. So as we say, the need of the hour is, the internet, which is such a ubiquitous thing, and every one of us are using, as Madiha had said, it needs to be safe for senior citizens because they are new to this internet world. They need to use it, but it has to be safe for them. Next slide, please. Having said that, today, internet has become an integral part of our lives. For all of us, Kaustav, next slide. We use it in all aspects of our life. Even today, whatever we are doing it online. Kaustav, can we go to the next slide? You need to click. Kaustav, it's you need to go back. Okay, so it's become an integral part of our lives. We are using it rapidly. Even today, the call which we are having is over Zoom. Yes, next slide. So having said that, during the last 1.5 years, slide number 3, Kaustav, in the last 1 year, slide number 3, yes. What has happened to us is everything has moved online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We did think in the last few days that we would be moving to a more, a normal life, but the way the wave is again going on, it seems difficult. हम सब कुछ जो भी कर रहे हैं ऑनलाइन कर रहे हैं, चाहे ordering vegetables, getting food, or even buying things online. हेल्थ के लिए भी हम डॉक्टर्स से ऑनलाइन अपॉइंटमेंट्स ले रहे हैं. So it has become an integral part of our lives. Click another time, Kaustav. So we need to see, while it is helping us, even for a vegetable seller, that we can, he can take the orders online and we can pay through Google Pay or Paytm. Is it also harming us? Yes, it is bringing up new challenges. Next slide. And that is what we are here to discuss. We want to have the good part of the internet. Simultaneously, we also need to be aware of the growing cybersecurity challenges which we face today. Next slide. There's nothing to worry. It is like when we go to the streets, we need to be, next, please click again. Not this one, the previous slide. Okay, right. So yes, this one, Kaustav. So there are various types of threats online. So we'll just highlight them once. One is data theft. कोई आपका data लेके कहीं और उसको use करते हैं. It can be stealing all the information about you and then, using it in your name. There can be financial frauds, just which Vijay mentioned, कि आपके पास आपके कोई सगा के तरफ से message आता है that I need money, and you genuinely send it, and you see that you have been, it was a fraud. कोई आपके नाम से किसी और से पैसे मांगते हैं या कुछ और करते हैं, which is an identity theft. Phishing attacks. They tell you to click on a particular mail saying you have won 50,000 rupees. You click on it, and then they get all your information, and then they use it, to hack your system. There is a lot of fake news, misinformation roaming around. We'll talk about it more. जैसे वैक्सीन के बारे में information या कोई अफवाह फैला दिया जाता है. So we need to be aware that we do not get into that circle of sharing those information. And of course, online harassment. आप कुछ ट्वीट किए या कुछ और आप इंफॉर्मेशन पोस्ट किए, किसी को समझ में नहीं आया, or someone did not like it, and they start harassing you, trolling you. And this happens with women a lot. It happens with senior citizens too. Someone tries to bully you online. So these are certain things. There may be different kind of threats, but these are certain things which we face online. Next slide. It is something like when we walk in the streets, we have to take care of, whether we look at the right or the left when crossing the streets. We look at the lights, whether it is, a red light or a green light. Similarly, in cyberspace, we need to be smart. We need to be savvy. You don't need to be afraid of anything. It's just that we need to be aware and we need to be smart. So we'll try to share a few tips with you on what you could do. The next slide, please. So tip number 1, do not trust someone simply because you seem to know that, or the person has information about you. You may get, even on phones, you may get information that are you so-and-so, you have a bank account so-and-so in so-and-so. Okay, can you give me these details? Not everyone who has information about you is a genuine person. And like the message says, don't trust everyone because sugar and salt both look as the same color. Sudhaji, I hope I'm audible to everyone. There may be an audio issue at your end. The next slide. The next is, don't send money to anyone without knowing that person. Someone says, please send me 5,000 rupees, you will get 20,000 rupees back. Please, there are no free lunches. No one is that magnanimous. Next tip. Always try to validate the identity of the person before trusting them. For example, if today I send a message to Vijay and say, Vijay, I want 5,000 rupees, it may be good that Vijay tries to contact me in different modes to find out whether I am really Amrita and that money should be transferred to me. Because there are many ways in which people are trying to use technology to misguide people. The next slide. We are all using mobiles or computers, so we should be able to upgrade our software. You can enable it to automatically update because that updates the security. In case you cannot do it yourself, please take help from some family member to do so. Similarly, if you are unable to read the text of your or in your mobile or laptop, there is a way to make the text bigger or the sound louder. I'll try to speak slowly. So try to use those enabling techniques जो आपके मोबाइल या आपके लैपटॉप में हैं, चाहे आपके टेक्स्ट का साइज बड़ा करे या साउंड को ज्यादा कर दे. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. टिप नंबर 5, हो सके तो ओरिजिनल सॉफ्टवेयर यूज कीजिएगा, बिकॉज मेनी स्कैमस्टर्स try to take advantage of illegal software. Try to have a registered or genuine antivirus application, because today in our mobiles or in our laptops or iPads, we use very different things. We go to many sites. So it is very important it is expensive, but try to use genuine software. The next slide, please. Kaustav, the next slide, if it is possible. So am I audible or have I gone frozen or something?
Ma'am, you're audible, but your voice is breaking a little.
Okay, should I switch off my video then?
We can try.
Okay. Okay, be careful with what you download. For example, many times you will get messages that, click this link, you will get this information. If you are not sure, please do not click those. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. I would request others to please keep themselves on mute because it will disturb the speaker.
Okay, so be careful with what you download. That is important. The next slide. Always try to keep a backup of whatever you are using in your tablets or computers. एक बैकअप जैसे फोटोज आपके लिए वैल्यूएबल है, फैमिली के फोटोज हुए या कुछ भी हुए, try to keep a backup of them somewhere so that you do not lose them out. The next slide. Costa, we need to go to the tip 8. When you are on social media, for example, on Facebook or anywhere else, the next slide, please. Do not share your private information. आपका पिक्चर जरूर शेयर कीजिए या आपके ओपिनियंस को जरूर शेयर कीजिए, but don't say that I am going to leave home for 2 days or I am going for a vacation or it is something like there are people on the internet whose job is to watch what people are doing so that they can scam you. So please be cautious. Try not to share too much of personal information outside. It is something like आप किसी को नहीं बताते हो आपके घर के लॉकर कहाँ हैं. So similarly, try not to share too much of information because there are people there who are mapping you. The next slide. Now, everything we use today has a password. Please don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABCD, or your birthday. Try to keep strong passwords where you have small letters, capital letters, you use numeric or you use alphanumeric so that people cannot, hack into it. And also passwords are not pass away words. For example, you do not give the information of your bank locker to everyone. Similarly, you should keep your passwords also protected. Like, for example, when someone installs a Wi-Fi in your home, they give a password by default. Try to change it so that someone else does not have that password. But please remember, after you give the password, please write it down and keep it with you somewhere. Don't forget it, else you will again have an issue. The tip number 10, if something looks too great, you have won a prize money or this is something which has come to you, please doubt it. If it's too good, there must be something out there. So that is very important. The next tip number 11. Nowadays, many things you are buying. You buy medicines, you buy insurance, you buy things online. Please go to trusted sites. For example, when you go to the site and you write http:// whatever site it is, there is a lock kind of a symbol which comes, which indicates that it is a trusted site. So please visit only trusted site. Do not go into any site and every site and click into any site which you doubt. Tip number 12. If you have any questions or if you doubt, please ask your friends, family or anyone. किसी को आप प्लीज पूछ लीजिए जिसको टेक्नोलॉजी की थोड़ी सी समझ हो. And yes, Mr. Malik, to answer you, Google saves your password. At times we do it. there is no harm in Google saving it. However, why should you ensure some other company or someone else has all the information of you? So you need to choose widely about it. The next slide. Though Alok will be talking more about it, there are various types of financial frauds we have. For example, never share your personal details online. When do not share your ATM card, PIN, passwords with anyone on the phone. For example, people may call you up and say, that your card has been blocked, please give me your PIN, and they take out money from your account. Please don't do that. Banks आज के तारीख में सबको कहता है हम लोग ऐसे calls नहीं करते हैं. Please don't click suspicious sites. Try to use two-factor authentication. For example, अगर आप कोई transaction कर रहे हो, आपके mobile पे कोई message आए, so that you know that you have done it or not. I faced this. Once I lost my credit card, and when I got the message on my phone, I came to know that my credit card is stolen. And that's actually helped me to go to the police and register a complaint. Keep resetting your password. And if you have any issues which comes to you, as in there is a cybercrime which happens, please report it. Aapke khud ke paas mat rakho, please report it. And to report, if it is with the bank, if it is with, say, Facebook or YouTube or your ISP, please log in a complaint with them. Log in a complaint with your nearest police station. And there is also a way to report cybercrime in the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, which is www.cybercrime.gov.in. Please report a crime, because if today I have faced it, and if I do not report it, someone else may also face it. Let's share these.
Please repeat.
www. I will type it down into the chat. cybercrime.gov.in. I will type it once I finish. I will type it into the chat. The next slide, please. So what we will do now is we will have some real life examples which we would like to discuss. Costa, next slide. Some real life incidents also shared by my colleague Alok and then Ashutosh, and I will also share. So I will pass it on to Alok first, who will give you some examples of the financial frauds which happen and how you can protect yourself. Alok, over to you.
Thank you, Amrita, and good evening to you all lovely people. All senior citizens. In few years, I am also going to join that gang. So, it's very nice to be amongst all of you. So, taking cue from what Amrita mentioned about, so many tips she gave us and so many examples, she related. I'll talk about, some of the statistics first. So we are in India as senior citizens not alone. In fact, the whole globe, it's a global phenomenon where senior citizens are targeted from the cybercrime, cyber fraud perspective. तो इसका जो financial fraud का कुछ estimate है, which is about $40 billion globally. So $40 billion is a crime only with the senior citizens. I'm not even talking about corporates and other government and enterprises and all that, but typically जो senior citizens हैं वो $40 billion का effect हुए हैं. Now, I've also seen from my past experience and whatever I hear from my colleagues and law enforcement officers is that most of them even, land up, losing their life savings, which they have actually, gathered or saved to enjoy their lives or for their healthcare or for their pastime or retirement, things. So, losing life savings is devastating. So that is something which, we have seen, in the cyber fraud, cybercrime space. One thing I would like to go back and, make all of you remember when you had young kids or now you have young, grandchildren, you always used to tell them that don't open the door to anybody or don't take anything from strangers or from them. So I think the same thing we have to now follow, that let's not, trust anybody blindly in the cyber world. And also let's not take any bait from them, or let's not take anything from them, which would be eventually harmful for us. So essentially what I have seen is that the mind of fraudsters and cyber criminals, they would try to, play with your emotions. They would probably try to play with your loneliness. आपके अकेलेपन से भी वो लोग वाकिफ होंगे. आपके प्राइड और जो सेल्फ एस्टीम है उसको भी वो कुरेदना चाहेंगे. और जो फाइनली, greed is about human beings. So if they throw you something which, incites your greed, then you will want, to take the bait. Today, I'll talk about two things which Amrita touched upon. One is phishing, and the other one is a phone version of that, which is called wishing. Wishing. So phishing is something to do with your, text messages or, websites or emails or anything which is coming through the internet medium. And wishing is something which is coming primarily through your phone network. Because I understand that there would be many senior citizens who would be still using feature phones, for only calling. They may not be so savvy, to even have smartphones. In fact, my father, who's 83 now, still uses a feature phone. And, but still he gets, these phone calls and, junk spam calls, which will ask him about his personal identities and details like that. So wishing is also equally important. I would first take example of, I would rather, in the interest of time, I would take three specific examples, because there are hundreds of examples one can take on financial frauds or identity theft. One thing I would like to say is that all of these things are interlinked. In fact, if I thief your identity, I can be seen, right? I saw a message that my video is not coming. Is that correct?
I pinged you also.
Yeah. Can you see me? I'm just waving.
Yes, sir, you're visible.
Yeah. This is me. Okay, sorry. So what I was saying was that typically there are, three examples which I would like to take here. Most of the time, what happens is that we are very scared of what is called deactivation. It's called deactivation scare. मेरा debit card जो है वो block हो गया है because मैंने KYC नहीं किया, which is called know your customer. तो अगर मैंने KYC नहीं किया और आप अपना KYC details upload नहीं करते हैं time पे, तो आपका debit card या credit card काम करना बंद कर देगा. So people are very anxious about any deactivation, whether it's a deactivation of your internet connection or your electrical bills or your banking account or anything like that. People immediately react to it. So what they will do is that they will either send you an email with a link, which will say that, go and press this link and a form will open up. Somebody asked the question here is that, is Google form, safe to fill all the information? So it is not about Google form. Google form is one way to produce a form, but you have to remember where this form is coming from. This form can come from Broadband India Forum, or this can come from a bank. This could come from a fraudster. So typically, when you are clicking on an information where they're asking you to provide the know your customer or KYC information, then you have to be extremely careful what website link it is going to. In fact, my recommendation would be that instead of clicking a link, you should just type that URL and try and go to that link from on your own rather than clicking that link. Because what happens is that many a times, most of these fraudsters, they will come up with lookalike websites. एक example है जो अभी Amazon की जो $1 billion day sale होती है या जो उनकी दिवाली sale होती है, उसके अंदर what they do is that fraudsters, they come up with a lookalike website. And what they do is that the URL is not Amazon.com. The URL is Amazon-Diwali.com. Now that doesn't belong to Amazon, because Amazon will not have anything which will have, anything succeeding their brand name. So it would be probably Diwali.amazon.com, but not Amazon-Diwali.com. So most of the people feel, fall prey to such kind of things where they click at that link, and that link goes to a lookalike website which has a Amazon branding and logo and everything, and then you land up buying something which has a 50%, 60%, 70% discount. It's so luring that you will say, okay, this television which I was supposed to buy for 50,000 is now available for 15,000. So you will fall for it. You will press that link. You will fill all your information, and then also you will put a credit card details and go ahead and pay the money. Now that money actually goes to the fraudster. So this is one kind of fraud which is happening very rapidly in the e-commerce space, where you're buying things online and it could go to a fraudulent link. Another thing which is very important today is the password. So one of the ways most of the digital transactions or digital payments are happening is through what is called one-time password, called OTP. So I'm sure all of you must be receiving OTPs when you are requesting for a payment or when you're doing an internet transaction. So this one-time password lasts for from few minutes to few seconds to few minutes, depending on the service provider, and they will tell you that within this time you have to use this. Otherwise, you will have to request a new password or a new one-time password. So by way of wishing or by way of phishing, people will try and snatch away your OTP. They would want your OTP to be known to them, because that is the last step in actually doing a transaction. So what I recently, came across a person who actually, does not keep a lot of money in their, bank account. What they do is that they make they fix deposits, or they make, liquid investments or stock investments and all that. Even then, what happens is that if your identity information is known to people, which means your login ID and passwords are known to people, because they can always know through social engineering or other methods. If they come across your OTP, then it's a disaster, because then they can transfer that money to some other bank account. So recently, what happened was that somebody had an access to fraudster had an access to your login ID and password. They wanted an OTP, but they did not want to directly ask the OTP. So what happened? They logged into the account and transferred the money from that account to an FD account. So they created a new FD, and for that, some of the banks, they don't need an OTP. They don't need you to provide an OTP. So that money goes into your own fixed deposit account. So you can create a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit from your primary bank account. So once that happened, then there's an alert which will come to me that this kind of a thing has happened. Your FD account has been opened and this money has been transferred. Now I will pose as a fraudster will pose as a bank person and say that there is a fund which is parked in a account. We need to transfer it back to your account. So we need an OTP for that. And the person gives away the OTP. The moment you give an OTP, then he transfers that money from the FD account to the fraudster's account. So these are various mechanisms by which the fraudsters are transferring the money. There is a recent fraud which I have seen, which is related to COVID. So what is happening is that if people wants to monitor their health, they want a pulse oximeter, which measures what is called SpO2 level, which is the saturation level for oxygen, and also their pulse rating or heartbeat rating, so that if they are within the limit, they don't need to go for a hospital quarantine. They can be at home. So what some people have come up and they said, you don't need to buy oximeters from the market. Your mobile phone can become a pulse oximeter, and there's an app which you download, and you can show your finger to the screen, and that finger will then give you a reading. So the moment you put your fingerprint or finger there, it will capture that fingerprint and then use it to activate or to access your Aadhaar card and other information based on the biometrics. So don't ever fall prey to some kind of a this kind of a fraud where pulse oximeter don't need to be downloaded and stuff like that. So I heard a comment that let's not scare people. I don't think so. The idea is to scare people. We will come to the prevention and correction methods also, but we are just telling you how scary the word can get. All of us, I would call, not just Vijayji who transferred 40,000 rupees, all of us in our lifetimes would have actually, fallen prey to this. So I would call everybody, including myself as cyber Buddhu, but we need to actually become, cyber aware or cyber, knowledgeable as we progress. Because I'm sure, people who are born as millennials, they will grow up as, knowledgeable, at least digitally knowledgeable senior citizens, but that day is far away. So we need to actually learn and, understand everything ourselves. I have a lot other things to talk, but we can take that in a Q&A session. So I think I will, with this, I will end my talk. Thank you very much and pass it on to the next speaker.
Thanks, Alok. Ashutosh, over to you.
Okay, first of all, a very warm good evening to all the seniors here in this wonderful chat room. I think Amrita and Alok already covered most of the relevant perspectives of being, or let's say, following cyber etiquettes. Learning to do right things, there is never a good age. So at any age, you should keep learning. And that's what is something we suggest across to all people, to kids, to people of young age, or even to the senior citizens. And these basic etiquettes or these basic principles of safeguarding yourself from frauds and things like that are extremely important. And these keep changing, by the way. It is an extremely dynamic world. The problems which you faced, let's say, a couple of years back are not the same today, and they will not be the same in the future. Hence, how do we make certain smaller adjustments to what we are doing in order to keep enjoying the internet, which is actually a fantastic thing to happen to all of us. It has made life easier, and how to keep enjoying it rather than falling prey to some of the, let's say, not so good people who are trying to extract money or information from us. So as I start usually by saying, and which Amrita also covered in her talk, is that there is a small device in all your homes, which is called a Wi-Fi router. You all are connected to the Wi-Fi router right now. And again, statistically, 99% people don't change the Wi-Fi router password. I mean, this is a known fact. Kindly, after this session, try to take some help from an IT person and change that Wi-Fi router password. Why I'm saying this is because globally, the Wi-Fi router manufacturers has got a default password set on the Wi-Fi routers. I'm talking about the device in your home, which is, blinking green when it is connected, red when it is not connected, and it has got possibly 2 antennas jutting out of it. So this is the device I'm talking about. And kindly look into the firmware password or the password provided by your service provider or whomsoever you have taken it from, and try to change it. And don't keep the Wi-Fi hotspot, which is when you are connecting to a Wi-Fi, usually you're keeping your family name or you're keeping your own name or your house number. Please don't do it, because the Wi-Fi transmits to a pretty good 50 to 75 meters range. So somebody walking past your house can also see that Wi-Fi hotspot, which is coming out of your house, know about its hotspot credentials. And there are smart young people today who in their IT classes are taught how to break into a Wi-Fi. This somebody may not be even doing a fraud, a kid playing just to check his skills, and he will break into your password and possibly expose that password in his WhatsApp group or in his school group or in his peer group of friends, and say, this is the password I've broken. This is the kind of script I have used. Can you try it and break 10 more passwords of the same locality? This is how the kids are playing today's games. Means I'm not even talking about fraudsters. I'm not even talking about, smart-minded people who are trying to con. And senior citizens are a little more vulnerable because maybe certain kind of alerts or things which are pinpointed on the network, you are not able to possibly understand what that alert is, and you will possibly click OK, or you'll click next step, and that's it. Means you will not possibly take some preventive measures because it looks the same like any other window popping up in your screen. So that's why. So the bottom line is, after this session, try to change the Wi-Fi password and make the hotspot name not as your family name or your house number name, but something which only you would know or your family members would know. And it is not known to the general public, which is possibly moving outside your house. So this is one tip. The repercussions of this can be extremely, I would not like to scare here, but Wi-Fi routers have been known to be used as attack points for national level attacks as well. So again, I'm not trying to scare, but since I come from a background of national intelligence, so I can very carefully tell you that this device in your house, which is connecting you to the internet, can be used as a launch pad for cyber attacks on other people. So please protect yourself. Please also protect other people by taking this small step, which you can possibly do it very easily. And why is it important? Let me take a step further and tell you why is it important. It is important because today your mobile phone, your laptop, and possibly people who are having lights and fans operated out of internet is connected to this Wi-Fi router. Tomorrow your cooking range, your fridge, your cars, most of the other devices in your house will be connected to this Wi-Fi router, because with Internet of Things, this is the new technology which we are coming to with 4G, 5G coming across. Most of the devices in the house will be connected to this Wi-Fi router. And if somebody has an access to your Wi-Fi router, it means that he can get an access to all your other devices. So people can come to know what you're eating, what is there inside your fridge, what have you put in the microwave oven, which lights have you switched on and switched off, what is the temperature of your air conditioner. Details which may look very not harmful, but for a person who knows how to use that detail, this can be really very important. So hence, prevent that from happening by being a little careful on your Wi-Fi routers. I'm just picking up one example and elaborating a little deep, because I could have gone very wide with a lot of examples, but then it would not touch upon the prevention which we are trying to achieve in this short period of time. The second point which I would like to see from this forum, which is almost 160 people on this forum right now, and even if 100 people change their Wi-Fi passwords after this session, I believe that we have done our job. That's a step taken towards preventing certain kind of cyber threat. The second important perspective, and as Alok had suggested earlier, I'm just building on what Alok and Amrita have said, not giving anything additional, is identity theft. Now you would ask, what is identity theft? Now, identity theft is a very important crime. It is actually a bigger crime than stealing money. So we get all hassled by somebody losing money, because I think that's the hard-earned money which we have. But a bigger problem is the identity theft, which means that somebody uses your identity, your name, your PAN card, your Aadhaar card number, and uses it for some other purpose. It may not purely be monetary transaction. It could be something even bigger, something even more problematic. And that is the reason I personally feel that don't be just careful about transaction of money, be very careful of something called social engineering. Now, what is social engineering in two sentences? Somebody trying to become friends with you online, somebody trying to know a little bit more about you, you trying to share more information. Again, this happens as a very well-defined psychological attack on somebody's mind, trying to take advantage of loneliness, health issues, all sorts of things, and then trying to get into your mind and you sharing your identifications. For example, it could be any of these Aadhaar card or PAN card numbers. It could be name of your son. It could be name of your relative staying in the US. And these people will collect and build a profile of people you know, or people you interact with, or a place you would like to go and eat food, or maybe on this and this particular day you are a vegetarian, or you are having a vrat on certain days. Again, it may look very, very non-harmful, but people who actually profile people based on these inputs can really use this information for attacking. And I'm saying it with my own experience, because organizations develop those kind of profiles for creating attack tools. So please do not share your social information, your numbers. Don't even post it on any kind of social media. If you have to share, let's say, very sensitive information and it is very urgent, try using instant messaging services which allow you to destroy that information once you have shared it to the person you trust, and things like that. Means please do not, or let's not get into a habit of openly sharing these kind of information. It's not recommended, and we've seriously tried not to do it. So these two things, basically, again, as I said, we can talk about a lot of stuff, but these two things: number one, your connectivity, which is your Wi-Fi router, which connects to most of the devices in your home, should be well protected, named accordingly. Password should be regularly changed, because it becomes a very important place for attacking you. And secondly, be careful of people doing social engineering. In simple words, trying to get into your close circle or trying to become your friend without you knowing the real intention of that particular person. So that's about it from my side, Amrita. I think you can take over from here, and we'll be very happy to get any questions in this regard. Didn't want to make it very technical, so that it is easy for people to follow and to ask questions.
Thanks, Ashu. There is a question for you. I think Debashish will ask it. I'll just try to be very brief since we are running out of time. The idea for us to share all this is not to make you afraid. It is just that you are aware of things. Just like, at home, you are aware that you need to lock your door. You have, video, you have CCTV cameras, etc., which you use to protect yourself so that no one intrudes. Similarly, in cyber life, we do not want you to be afraid. We just want you to be aware. That is our intention. Even we can fall prey to cybercrime. Any kind of theft can happen in any house. It is just that we need to be aware and we take precautions. Even after that, it happens. Now, I'll just take 2 minutes to explain that many a times we get information in our mobiles, in our even in Facebook or other places, or emails of many things, and we believe and we share it. We share those information with all the good intent, but they are always fake news or misinformation. For example, you may get messages on WhatsApp saying someone needs a kidney. If someone has a kidney to give, if you know of some kidney patient, we can give it. But please understand, kidneys are not like I have a bad kidney, you have a good kidney, you give it to me. There is a donor list which is maintained. There is a kidney bank, a recipient list which is maintained. The kidney, there has to be a match between the organs or the person's body. Only then can it be given. Now, we, in all good intent, share it, but it is misinformation. It is made by someone and we are becoming a conduit to share it. Similarly, about vaccine, someone sharing that particular vaccine is made of chimpanzee poop. Now, how does it matter to you and me if it is made from chimpanzee poop or from some other RNA? As long as it is effective and the vaccine makers are making it, it is fine for us. But we get agitated and we share it. Recently, during COVID times, there was an information which was sharing and people genuinely shared it, and I got it. Someone had written that to prevent COVID and it was prevention of COVID. Someone said, do not wear belts. or do not eat non-vegetarian. And there were other things, but these two were something which were very startling. And it came as this is something which Delhi Medical Association is prescribing. Now, when I looked at these 2 points, I said, how does you wearing a belt or a ring in your finger have anything to do with COVID-19 precautions or eating vegetarian? Because they're non-vegetarian. Sorry, but no report, there are no reports which says any kind of diet helps. Yes, if you're having more of vitamin C, you have healthy food, it helps. And we actually genuinely spread it with everyone. And that is why World Health Organization also termed these misinformation going around of COVID-19 as infodemic. They also have a site where they say, if it is on Facebook, how you can report, if it is on YouTube, how you can report, if it is on this website, how you can report. I will share that link in the chat so you can look at it. The idea is we are all, we have social beliefs, we have various norms in our head, we want social good, but let us not become conduit for someone else. Let's think before we share. Sometimes it is best that you go and look into fact-checking sites. Many times, many things flow, which looks great. Pictures are morphed. For example, if we look at during the Pulwama attack, many pictures were circulated later, which was of Syria and others, and we were like in a nationalistic way sharing it. So please think before sharing, because if you remember, there were people who were lynched and killed because people thought that the person who was there was a child picker, because the messages went around WhatsApp saying so and so is a child picker, he is around, and then the villagers thought that this was a person who was a child picker, and that person lost his life. So let's be responsible. Let's use the beautiful tool of internet, social media, WhatsApp, or whatever we use in the best way. Now I will pass it on to my colleague Debashish, who will actually manage the question answer session. Ashutosh, there was a question for you from Vijay, and there was another interesting question. Perhaps Debu would take it up. Debu, over to you.
Thank you so much, Amrita. Good evening to all members of the Dignity Foundation. I'm the moderator of the Q&A. Nice coming from me. The first question that I can see in the chat box is a question from Mr. Subhash, who says, in case of credit or debit card frauds, complaint to bank, RBI and police is helpful. There was no help in my case. I would request Mr. Alok Gupta to kindly take it, if you can kindly respond to this.
Sure. Yeah. So, see, the question is very important because, first of all, we need to be aware that how do we report such kind of, crimes or frauds. So there is also a timeline which has been set out by Reserve Bank of India, that if there is a fraud which has happened to you, which is online in terms of credit card or payment wallets or anything like that, then, within immediately you have to inform the provider. Let's say it's a Paytm, then you need to inform them. Or if it is a bank like Citibank or SBI or any other bank, you have to inform them. There is always a customer care number and also a customer care this thing. Then there are specific fraud helplines also with these people. So you can just go to the website and search for their fraud contact addresses or emails and then report it there. So that is first thing. First you have to report it to them. Second is that you have to report to this cybercrime.gov.in portal where which is a national portal where you can register your case over there that this has happened to you. So these are two things. Now, technically speaking, RBI said that, if you report it and it is not your fault, then the money will, come back to you. Now, in how much time the money will come back to you is something which is dependent on the process of the bank or the payment wallet or whatever. Now, the point in your case is that, no help has come from either of, the bank or the cybercrime cells or anybody. So then you can even go to the the grievance cell of Reserve Bank of India. And they also have a banking ombudsman where you can go and report, such kind of things, and they'll definitely come back with some remedy. Time will be consumed, but you will definitely get an answer from them.
Thank you, Alok ji. The next
Hello,
question.
sir. Can I?
Sorry.
Hello, sir, Mr. Alok. I have a question. Can I ask you now?
Please go ahead.
Sir, you mentioned about the OTP fraud. I have a small suggestion. Why not make it that if the OTP comes only from the registered mobile, the transaction should be affected, not from anywhere else. If supposing I get an OTP on my mobile and I operate the OTP on some other device, I should still send the confirmation from my mobile. In that case, the snatching of OTP will not result in a fraud. Just a suggestion.
No, you're right, sir. But what happens is that all the transactions don't happen via the mobile phone. In fact, the transactions also happen through web. So what happens is that the moment you are, doing a internet-based transaction on the computer or web, then you're putting your login ID and password, and then you are actually typing your OTP over there. So it is not actually coming from your mobile phone, but from some website, web computer or anywhere. So you are right that they should put more security measures. One of the suggestions which we had given, to some banks and Reserve Bank of India is that they should also come up with what is called a split OTP. Split OTP meaning, let's say OTP is 4 words, 4 numbers. Then first 2 numbers will come to you, to your registered mobile, and the next 2 numbers could come to your younger relative or your son or anybody. So the 2 OTPs, when 2 numbers when you combine, then only the high value transaction will happen. So these are some of the suggestions you can give. Then also the bank is supposed to keep some tracer numbers. There is a lot of background.
Please,
How much noise is
I would
there?
like to request everyone to please mute themselves.
you mute everybody, madam.
Thank you. The next question, or a couple of questions addressed, are probably for Mr. Ashutosh Kar. The question is, first of all, clarify what is a hotspot. The second part of the question is, please clarify how my hotspot name.
So you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, my first question, there are a couple of questions for Mr. Ashutosh Kar. First question is, what is a hotspot? And the second question is from Mr. Kasi from Chennai, who is asking, please clarify how my hotspot name from my phone is a hazard of cybercrime. Over to you, Ashutosh.
Okay, I think it's a good question, and I didn't specify hotspot, so let me specify it for the benefit of all the listeners here. Hotspot is basically when your router in your house or the device which is giving you wireless internet, when you switch it on, you will see that on your mobile or on your PC, wherever you want to connect, or whichever device you want to connect to the internet, it will show a few names. Usually the names which suggest that this is a network you can connect to, or this is a internet connection you can connect to. That name of that internet connection which is coming from your Wi-Fi router or from the connection point which has been given by a service provider in your home is in easy language, it is called a hotspot. Hotspot because it's a spot where you can just connect to it and you'll start getting internet connection. So that's why it is internet connection point. Now, if you look at your mobile phone right now, or the PC which you are right now listening to this conversation or to this thing, you will see that there is a name. If you click the Wi-Fi point, or let's say the connectivity point on your PC or your mobile, you will see that it tells you connected to a particular name or connected to a particular network. Now, that is the hotspot that you have connected to, or that is the network you have connected to. If you're on pure mobile connectivity, not on a Wi-Fi connectivity, then it will show you are connected to your service provider, maybe Idea or Vodafone or Airtel. So that's not the hotspot. But at home, if you're connected to a Wi-Fi router or a Wi-Fi connection, then you will be connected to a hotspot. Now, all hotspots have a name. Just to identify them, they have a name. And usually when the person who is coming to install the Wi-Fi router in your house might have asked you that what should I name this particular device connection, or he must have himself put the number of your house or your surname or your name as that Wi-Fi connection. So if you actually see it, you may see that connected to ABC or connected to 115 or something like that. So this is the name of the hotspot. This is what I'm saying, that you should not keep it same as your name or same as your house number. You should randomly keep it to something which only you know about. So that's something which I had recommended. The second thing is, how is your hotspot or your connection important or can become a cybercrime? I will explain. Again, I will not go into the details. This is high. Let's put it this way. It is a bit technical and complicated, but I will simplify it by saying that your Wi-Fi connection, if it is known to somebody else, which is not you, you are using it for internet connection. If I come to know about your Wi-Fi hotspot, I can use it as an anchor point, as a jumping point to connect to some other place and do a cyber crime or do an attack or do a kind of a malware, or a Trojan attack. Let's put it this way. However, I will not be exposed because I'm using your Wi-Fi router. And at the end, when the authorities are coming and trying to track back, they will see that your router is involved in that particular attack. Finally, through forensics and through packet inspection, they can reach to a conclusion that it was not you, but at least for some time it might be, you might be in problem because your router figures in that whole chain of attack which has taken place. Again, this is not to scare you, just to make you careful that this might happen. And as I said, kids are doing it today. It's not even professionals. I have seen kids of 14, 15 years old breaking into their school Wi-Fi router or breaking into the school Wi-Fi network, stealing question papers and stuff like that. So this is happening. This is not fantasy. This is already something which is happening. So if they could break into a school network which is pretty secured, your home network is pretty less secured. Let's put it this way. So it can be easily broken into.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
I have a question.
Ashutosh.
Sir, I have a question, please.
Kasi from
I have a
Chennai.
question.
Let's
You
go
have
one by
answered
one.
my question. Kasi from Chennai.
Yes,
You
sir.
have answered my question, but I have got a doubt. My hotspot, I have set a password, which is very difficult for anybody to guess. If that case also, is it a possibility of any jumping through the network?
First of all, if you have changed the passwords, see, sir, the most problematic situation in Wi-Fi password is people don't even change it. So it is a default password was 0000 or 1234. And by knowing which make and model of the router you are having in the house, I can just punch that in and I can get into your network. So since you have changed the password and kept a difficult password, it is a very good, very, very good starting point.
Okay.
Can it be broken or not? It is again, we'll go into a separate discussion, but I think you have taken a great step to.
I have set a password myself.
Great.
Which is a combination of lowercase and uppercase and special character number.
Okay. Now what you're doing is you are suggesting a bit about your password on an open forum, which you should not do. So
Okay,
again,
fine.
this is again social engineering. You know,
I am not disclose what it is, but
it's okay.
Sir, I have also one interesting question. May I ask?
Sir, sorry to bother you. There were a few more questions. Would it be possible that we also have the others ask the questions and then we come back to you so that everyone gets responded? Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
One more question. That router, we are having the router and through the service provider. Now, whether the service provider can access our internet banking through this router?
Okay, it's a very, very good question. Again, they are not supposed to. First of all, with every router, they have got something called a kind of a maintenance channel. Maintenance channel means, if your router goes bad or is not functioning, they can remotely connect. It's called a remote connection. They can remotely connect to solve the problems. but they do not have an access to the content which is passing through your router. So they are not supposed to. So again, as I said, if you protect your router with a password which is not the default password, if you take due care, and if you use something called a kind of a VPN connection for your sensitive communication, VPN is a private network on your router, then there is no way that a service provider will try to get into your username passwords through the router mechanism. There are other ways to get in. So this is a more difficult way for him to get the username password. They will not. It is highly unlikely that they will try to get into your router to get your username passwords.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, can I have a question, please?
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Nanda.
Yeah. See, there's a mobile app for viewing some TV channels, and it is monthly payment is very less. But then it says it is auto debit. So is it safe?
As a default, you should not activate auto debit. Means this is again, I tell everybody, you should not activate auto debit. Although again, the safer sites or people like the known sites will not misutilize it. But who knows? Again, I consider Google's and Facebook's as the biggest data collectors of the world, and they are going to use this data next 5 years or 10 years in a manner that you and me cannot even do not even know about it. And they are building large scale artificial intelligence tools just by using that data. So please do not put anything which automatically starts deducting money from your credit card or from your bank account. Again,
Even Amazon remembers your debit card number, because when I order something, it says that it brings my card details with Intuos at so many places. Okay.
Yes.
So then he says you go to your account and then delete it. Why should it do it?
No,
why should it remember by default?
No, first of all, you should not.
I think, gentlemen, we need to move on. We are coming to the end of the time.
Yeah.
I request whoever was coordinating Devashish to conclude the session.
Okay.
And request to all the participants is, if your questions have not been answered, please reach out to us and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But respecting the time schedule, we need to end. Over to you, Devashish or Madiha.
Thank you, Vijay ji. Thank you so much. So we now call this Q&A session to a close. And as Mr. Pawar has mentioned, you are kindly requested to put your questions in the box, and we shall take them offline and ensure that our experts will address them, and we will respond back to you with the answers that you seek. Thank you. With this, over to you, Madiha, to take.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I had a question, whether we should change the password periodically?
So may I request you, for the sake of keeping time, that you can please type it in the chat box. We'll make
I have typed it.
We'll respond to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. And I would like to welcome our NCR chapter head, Ms. Archana Chaudhary, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madiha. Thank you, Broadband India Forum. We've had a very, very informative session, and you have commented is that it was very easy to understand. A very, very complex topic was explained in really very simple words. And for that, I think we need to understand that, for senior citizens to understand such a technical topic is really, really difficult. But you've done an amazing job. And for that, we are really very grateful to you. I think the biggest takeaway and the most important takeaway from this session has been that we must think before sharing any personal information. So whether it is with people we know or even online. So that has come across as one of the key takeaways. And really, really thanking all the participants for their patience. I know we've run out of time. We will definitely try and download the chat questions and get back to you once we've had answers given by the the speakers here today. Thank you once again, all the speakers, Broadband India Forum. We are really honored that you considered giving this session to us today. All our Chai Masti Centre members are really grateful to you. Thank you, team. Thank you, Broadband India Forum, Cybersecurity Group, working.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.